You're listening to the Normal Isn't Necessary podcast, brought to you in part by the Gumball Head Sobriety Society and generous listeners just like you. For the latest updates, check out the link in our bio. You are listening to the Normal Isn't Necessary podcast, and I am your host, Gumball Head. Friday morning edition, May 30th, 2025. It is chilly outside. On my way to work, as we do. And it's raining. I don't know if you guys can hear it in the background, but it's definitely not a sunshine, beautiful day. It's all right, though. It's Friday. There's a lot of sunshine entailed with Fridays. I just want to give a quick shout out to all my veteran friends, family, and a couple of the guys that I've lost as friends over the years due to losing their mental health battles with some past traumas, and give a nod to my boys over at modernvikingllc.com, Modern Viking Beard Care Company, soaps, balms, oils for your face, make your gritty exterior a little bit shinier. They have some great products, shampoos. They have a ladies line, the Shield Maiden line, great body butters, excellent scents that last you forever. Gumball 10 gets you 10% off the entire order, $35 or more, gets you free shipping, and veteran owned and operated, made right in America. Beautiful state of Ohio. In the state of Ohio. I think we're starting to get a little carried away with our descriptions on things, but made in the state of Ohio. Veteran owned and operator. Gumball 10 get you 10% off, modernvikingllc.com. Check them out. Also, check out our link tree. Right now we're offering 30 days free of Hulu. Click through the link, you get 30 days free. Cancel at any time. Some restrictions may apply, whatever their restrictions are on their website, I'm not sure. But what I do give is advice on that. If you don't like it, cancel it. But download it. Check it out. If you don't have Hulu already, great opportunity to feel it out. Get in there, take a look at it, see what it's all about. I guarantee you, after 1 month, you're not going to want to get rid of it. There's plenty to watch on there. Lots of documentaries. It's where I watch a lot of documentaries on. And sometimes they have free, local sporting events and stuff like that on there. So it's always something special on there. You'll always have something to watch. Check it out. Hulu in our link tree, 30 days free. Check out Headspace. You get 2 weeks free as well if you click on our link in our bio. It's our link tree bio, by the way, in case you guys are confused. If you're listening on the Podbean, you'll see it right there at the top of our app. Otherwise, you can find us at gumballhead.com. Check out the website there. We got new product coming out, new merchandise coming out here in the month of June. A couple of stickers, a couple of T-shirts, designs coming out. You guys can show your support by wearing our clothes. It seems like a lot of people are doing that these days, and we're going to tie into marketing and stuff like that here in just a bit. But I want to today's conversation is based around a message I got in one of my messengers this morning. A friend of mine from 30 years ago. I've been friends with him since, but lost contact over time. People get married, people have kids, people grow up, people grow old, people find new jobs, people relocate and move. But that's one of the things that social media is good for. You're staying in touch with those people that have made those deep connections in your life. And I had a buddy of mine reach out and talk to me about, or ask me a favor. Now, I wanna really focus on this for a second, because I've got a few of my friends that after we graduated high school, they went off into the military, and if it wasn't for Facebook or MySpace, even, to show you how far back we're going, but if it wasn't for Facebook, I would have lost touch with these guys forever. They were impactful in my life in high school. They were impactful in my life shortly after high school. And whether they realize it or not, they're still impactful to me. I still check in on them. I don't reach out and, beg for their attention. They don't need that. It's not a requirement. But I definitely stay in touch with them. I kind of keep an eye on them from a distance, mind my own business, but still do what I need to do to get my buddy fix. But one of my buds, an Army veteran, reached out to me this morning and sent me a message. Said, hey, remember that day when my ex left me and moved away? I'm not going to go too deep into the story because I don't want to. I told him I was going to talk about it in my podcast, but I don't want to overstep any boundaries. He said the day that my ex left me, way back in the 90s, okay, this is late 90s. If you remember that day, could you write a short story about it? And the reason why I'm talking about this today is when I talk about things, I unlock things. And he said, I know it might be a tall ask. You're going to have to reach way back in the memory banks, which isn't a problem. I can unlock that just by chatting about memories and such. And I kind of looked back to that day and I'm like, okay, yep, I remember that, okay, yep. All right, so things started to come back to me in my mind, and it wasn't one of those situations where it was a PTSD situation for me, but it was for him. This was an opportunity for me to really curate and solidify that friendship and be there for somebody else. And this guy has gone through a lot in his life. He's gone through job changes, multiple moves. He's gone through some things in his life that have changed his life forever, changed his children's lives forever. But one of the coolest things about this guy, and this is the power of social media, is he never gave up. He never gave up. He worked hard. I watched him do some dumb shit. We got drunk multiple times together, chatted, we hung out, we argued, we didn't get along sometimes, but this guy's a true solid friend. Always kind of been there when you need him, and one of those guys that didn't matter what he was in the middle of. He was in the middle of swooning a new girl, and you said, hey, bro, I need your help. He'd have been in his car and on his way, no questions asked. Real stand-up guy. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about this friend of mine. And we had a group of friends. It was a small group of friends. And we went through a lot together. And we had Pablo. I'm gonna give fictitious names here. Well, actually, no. I'm going to use real names. It was Paul, Chris, Dan, myself, and Ryan. And then John was in there as well. We all went through a lot of stuff together. Most of these guys were either in college or they were, college age, as I was. We were all just a group of guys. We worked together at a big box store, met each other, and we all kind of went through changes and differences in our lives together, very young. And we actually all together, each one of us, lived a lot of life in a very short period of time together, went through a lot of experiences. That's back when I really started becoming an alcoholic for the first time, for the first round of alcoholism. And I think these guys did too, to be perfectly honest with you. There's just a lot of shit happening in our lives, and none of us really knew what we wanted to do. And some of the guys ended up joining the military. Some of the guys ended up leaving leaving the box store life and going and working in retail elsewhere. Another one of the guys ended up buying a Harley dealership. Another one ended up being a real estate broker. So we've all gone different paths, but I've always kind of tried to continue my mission with people in helping them out. And ever since then, and I didn't realize this was happening for me back in those days. It just kind of stuck around with me since then. And I take great pride in being able to be there for, my buddies and even years later, knowing that these guys can still rely on me as a result of the things that have happened in my past. But, looking for my wallet now. I'm panicking a little bit. But this buddy of mine reached out to me and said, hey, can you help me out here? I kind of went through some shit. Can you help me revitalize my memory banks? I'm like, absolutely, sure. No problem, And here we are. He had asked me to write a short story about the day that his ex left him with his daughter and ran away. And I'm kind of unlocking those things and looking back and just remembering the emotions that he went through and the things that he thought about and things that he had to go through as a result of those negative points in his life. And I started to unlock those things, and I'm kind of coming up with more and more things that I remember from that day, just to kind of try to help this fella out. And it's a remarkable story, just listening and watching and learning and remembering the things that he went through, and just seeing, the defeat on his face when she left, and here's where the end of the story comes. Him asking me to reach back and listen or remark about those things helps me understand and respect a lot of things that have happened in my life. And just watching his growth since then, watching the things that he's gone through since then and the things that he's done since then, really goes to show that this dude has never given up. He's never given up. I've watched him jump hurdles, climb mountains, go through hell. I've seen him come out ahead of the game financially. I've seen him overcome some of his negatives, and, to this day, he's still somewhat a hero in my opinion. He's still a very big influence in my life, and thank you for that, by the way. It's remarkable to hear that. You are in a place now where you're happy, remarried, more children, safe space, safe life, safe world, safe everything. This guy's in a really good spot, and I'm happy for him for that. So to look back, though, that far, it kind of helps me in other ways, too, because I'm able to unlock some of the things that I forgot about and look into the things that I forgot about that happened with me and the relationships that I went through and the things that I had to overcome. But it also helps me to see some of the things that I've done in the past that were not great on my behalf, but things that I've overcome as well. And the big thing about that is even though I don't realize it, it was the start of my alcoholism. It was the start of my my downturn of my health. It was the downturn of my mental health, but it was also the upturn of my mental health as well, because that was the youngest of ages. I mean, I wasn't even 21 yet, and this guy was, he provided me my beer so that he had a drinking buddy. He provided me introduction to baseball. He really solidified my love for baseball again that I had lost in my teens. Because of, things that had happened in my life. I bought my first home at 19 years old. It was a very small ranch-style 3-bedroom home. I paid like $80,000 for it. I lived there with my, at the time, girlfriend, who ended up being my wife. And that's where our lives started. We had 2 children as a result together, and we lived in the home. And after we moved out, this fellow rented the home from us. And, eventually we got rid of the house, and we all moved our separate ways, and we all did our own things. But this guy, toughed it out through all that stuff. And I watched him grow as a result. And I followed kind of in his footsteps in a way, because I admired him. He was a great guy. Were there moments where I didn't like him? Absolutely, But I never held those moments against this person. And I thank you to this day, 30-plus years later, well, almost 30 years later, sorry, not 30-plus, but almost 30 years later, for helping me to realize that things can change over time. Things can develop over time. And that's one of those things that are difficult. If you're younger, I follow a guy on TikTok who is a former military, and dealing with some alcohol substance abuse issues. He'll be 30, today he's 31 days sober, and I jumped in on his stream last night and said, hey, I've been here every day. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to show off or anything, but I've been there. He started streaming, 20 days ago. I've been in his stream almost every day since then, just saying, hey man, keep going. I love you, keep going. I'm proud of you. Keep going. And sometimes that's all we need to hear is, hey, how's it going? Just checking in. Now, we have a lot of followers. And some of these followers, they fall to the wayside. I had someone say to me the other day, hey, man, after the podcast, I really haven't heard much from you. Well, I did my thing. I came in, I said, hey, I promoted you. I did a podcast with you. I put you on my website. I put you on my TikTok page. I put you on, this and that and the other thing, and, I did what I said I was going to do. I'm following my passion project and promoting people out there, and I didn't do it to get notoriety, because we focus on those people that don't really have that visibility yet, but have the potential to become something great. And that is one of the things that we are trying to do, is we're trying to help people establish their definition of greatness. And, when you do a podcast with somebody, now, mind you, I'm just a small-time podcaster. I'm nobody huge. I'm not syndicated. My advertisers are people that own a business, and most of them don't pay us. We don't get paid for it. We don't get free products, unless we place an order. Everybody that we promote their products for, we make our own purchases for. We're not asking them to give us free stuff. Now, have we gotten free stuff? Yes, but do we do the things that we do as a result of expectation of getting paid? No, we don't. We do it to promote other people. We do it to promote mental health. We do it to promote, sobriety. We do it to promote people and help them to understand that, you may not be a guest on our show, but that doesn't mean you're not imperative to our growth. You may not be a guest, but that does not mean that you are not part of our growth. We work very, very hard to try to make the world a better place, a little more digestible than all the negative things that happen in life. Excuse me. But looking back, and that day that this fella, watching this fella fall apart, I think this was the first time I ever saw a grown man go through something in life that was going to be a monumental change in their life. And I don't think that I really respected it at the time until today when he reached out to me. And that outreach really kind of unlocked some things for me and just kind of helped me to realize that, man, we have all gone through so much stuff in our life, and there are so many changes that do happen in life, and I'm kind of reflecting through the mental Rolodex and seeing all these years of change and all these things that this guy's gone through, and seeing what this guy has overcome, and it's just like, wow, what a remarkable ability we have as human beings to overcome some of the worst shit, or some of the things that we perceive as the worst shit in our lives. Life is not simple. Life is not easy. And I saw a quote the other day. A guy was like, I had a sponsor one time that said, you are not here to receive love. You are not here to receive appreciation. You are not here to receive, forgiveness. You are here to feel love and grace and forgiveness. But you're not here to receive it. Sponsors, when it comes to the addiction world, they're not there to give you a hug and continuously tell you, everything's going to be okay, because it's not. It's a difficult world. I almost dropped an F-bomb. I've been very careful in my profanity in my podcast lately. But that's the thing. The sponsors are not there to make you feel good. Sponsors are there to help you realize that, this is part of the growth process. Sponsors are there to support you and to keep your mind straight. Sponsors are there to remind you that you're in this situation for a reason, and the reason, the solution to that is hard work. It's not to say, hey, things are going to be easier, things are going to be better when this and this and this happen, because it's not always true. If you look at people that that struggle with recovery right now, you'll see those people going through the hard times. You'll see those people struggling with, their mindset changes and, bipolar and ADHD and all that. Why? Well, because we've changed the chemical makeup of our brains for so long that now we need to unscrew it, And I was talking to a fellow last night. I was playing some Call of Duty Warzone, and this guy popped in, and we were playing, and I was like, oh, yeah, you're the guy that does this and this. And he's like, yeah. I said, yeah, so we just did a podcast about that. He's like, oh, you're the guy. Yeah, I couldn't remember where I met you at, but yeah, how crazy is that? I got a buddy that's going through this and this, and yeah, have him reach out to me. If he's got any questions, or have him reach out to our network. I wasn't doing it for visibility. I wasn't doing it for notoriety. I was doing it because I was like, hey, you know what? I've been through that. I can identify with that. If he needs someone else to talk to that's non-biased and neutral, have them reach out. And they might reach out to me and be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I can point them in the right direction. I can tell them about different opportunities and resources out there. And they can go through and they can see those things. And if they want to hire me on as a life coach, they do that. That's how I make that network happen. That's how I grow the life coaching side of things. Otherwise, I'll give you some free advice, chat about things. I'll give you some free resources, and you're off on your way. And that's what the creation of gumballhead.com was so that you can come in and you can listen to our podcasts. It didn't do it to grow a huge network of financiers, but eventually, and that's what we're working on now. We are creating that network, and we are starting to monetize those things that we do have. And if people want to have the free access to things, it's there. It's there. It's free. It's no charge. If you want to take it another step further, then we offer those options as well. And I'm not here to plug the website, gumballhead.com. I'm not here to promote any of our services. I'm just here to talk about the opportunity for resources. And not only that, but the resources that we give, aside from, your general websites that you can click to and go get help. But those resources are, people, a network, a growing network of people. And, we just actually helped somebody that had a dream of being a professional wrestler. She's a female. So I reached out to our very first podcast guest, L.A. Rogers, SFX, who used to be a professional wrestler or a semi-pro wrestler, who is now a special effects makeup artist in Georgia, who is now growing, doing conventions, who is now growing, promoting their products, who is now growing, marketing their own self as a result of what they're capable of doing and promoting themselves to do these things, and is being asked to come and showcase their skills. And their skills that they're showcasing is their ability and capability of doing the things that they found as a part of their own individualized recovery. And I'm not saying that she's recovering from anything. What I'm saying is there are things in her life that she is recovering from. We all are recovering from something negative that's happened in our life. And as a result, she found special effects makeup that helps her do that. If you want to hear her podcast, you can go to it. It's right on our page. Go to the gumballhead.com page, click on the Get to Know You series. It's in the drop-down menus. If you're on your mobile phone, you have to tap the menu tab. But then the menu will drop down. You can scroll all the way to the bottom. It's the Get to Know You series. Click on that, and it's got all of our interviews that we've done with our past guests right there available, embedded into our website. And you can play it without having to download any apps. We should be monetizing through Podbean and telling people go to Podbean. We do that. We do tell people to go check out our Podbean, but some people don't want to download another app. Some people don't want to go through that headache of doing that. So we still offer those options elsewhere. There are things that come with, the benefits of having that app. There are things that come with the benefits of going through other avenues. But for the most part, we want to just make sure that the information is available. That was huge for me when I was in public safety. That was huge for me when I was working as an EMT. It was huge for me when I was working as a medical examiner. It was huge for me when I was working as a firefighter. Because you see people at their absolute worst mentally. You see people at their absolute worst physically because they are in a situation where they were unable to control the outcome. And, they got hurt. They got injured. They died. They went through things. The family members that are there after a suicide. The family members that are there after a cardiac arrest. The family members that are there after grandma fell down the stairs. Those people are hurting too. They're injured too. Those are the people that, in those fields of public safety, those are the people that the public safety heroes are there for. You're their first line of tears and grief. You're there to help them initiate that grief process, and it's not a situation of valor. It's not a situation of something that you can take pride in, but it means something. Most of the people that are in public safety aren't in it for the money. They're not in it for the money. They're in it for the compassion. Most of those people work 2 or 3 different jobs that are involved in the public safety field. And when I say that, a lot of times your EMTs are firefighters. A lot of time your paramedics are medical examiners. A lot of time your firefighters are, full-time dads. They're full-time moms. They're dispatchers. They take on these jobs as additional money because that's a career field that doesn't pay a lot of money. And not only that, but a lot of the times people don't understand that there's a lot of mental health involved too. A lot of mental health risks a lot of baggage that they carry around that's not even theirs. And a lot of times those people in public safety don't realize that they're carrying that baggage around until they fall into depression, or they fall into addiction, or they fall into a category of negative mind space. And that's why we created the Gumball Head Sobriety Society. That's why we have the Mental Health Network. That's why we have the TikTok page, our podcast. So, looking back almost 30 years and having someone reach out, the biggest thing that touched me the most in this interaction that I had with my friend was, I'll never forget that day. Well, I never forgot that day either. I've forgotten details. I have forgotten things that came about from that day, but I have still, since we were young, since I was in my late teens, early 20s, I still think about this guy regularly. I still check up on him because we are friends on Facebook. I still remember the things that he went through, and when he said something about it today, I started to unlock some of those core memories. And I do remember a couple of things about that day. First and foremost, hey man, I need to do this task. I need someone with me. Would you mind going with me? Sure, man, no problem. We had another friend go with us. I can't remember who the other one was. I have a good mind of who it was. But they were like, yeah, dude, I'll go with you too. So we went and we took care of business, and he packed his bag and packed up some things into our vehicle, and we were on our way. It was an opportunity to give him a place to stay for a minute, let him couch crash, be his buddy, and be there for him, and just kind of let him get into the mind space of change and do what he needed to do and take care of himself. And that's when his mental health started to change and turn. And he started to go through things, and he had to start his growth process, and he had to start he started the death and disease process of making that change and being reborn again. Reborn, not in the Christian sense, but mental sense. Becoming a new person and getting rid of all the old stuff that plagued him, getting rid of all the old things that caused him issue in the past, and getting rid of the things that he struggled with as a result of the situation that he was going through. That was the moment where his life started to change again, and then it changed again, and then it changed again, and then it changed again, and all the things that he's gone through in his life. But this was one of those monumental moments of life where I got to be a part of something that was bigger than just being there for somebody. And it's a long-term change that has been remarkable for this guy. And it sucks, but it's great. It was a rough day for all. Rough day for him, rough day for his ex, rough day for his child. Rough day for this guy's friends that were part of his friends group, because we all absorbed that pain as well. We're not doing these things alone, guys. We often feel that we have to go through these situations in our lives and go through negative things in our life as a result of necessity, but it's not necessarily the truth. What we have to do is stop looking at it as a hindrance and start looking at it as a hope. Start looking at things as a change. Everything happens in life for a reason, and I get so sick of hearing that statement. I get sick of saying that, but it's true. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens in cycles. Birth, experience, disease process, the start of the death process, and the death of the process, the death of the situation, which also initiates rebirth, changing again, recovery. People in recovery will relapse sometimes. Not always, but most of the time, there's at least one or two relapses. Whether they're long-term or short-term, it's always going to be a part of recovery. I drink beer every once in a while. I don't consider it a relapse, because now I'm not sitting down and drinking 12 of them at a time. I'm sitting down and having a beer with my steak dinner that I had, because I'm responsible enough to understand the perils of addiction. I'm responsible enough to understand the perils of my negative influence as a result of alcohol. I could never go back to that lifestyle full time. I just couldn't. I get a headache after more than one beer, and a lot of the diehards out there will condemn me because they're like, you're a recovery coach, but you can drink. You think it's okay to drink. I do think it's okay to drink, as long as you can do it in a responsible manner and as long as it's not a frequent thing. I'm not a slave to a calendar. I do keep track of my days, and we're coming up on 3,000 days right now from my last major moment, from my last arrest, from the exact day that I died as the old alcoholic me. There have been trialing days since then, but they have not controlled my life like alcohol used to do. They don't control my life like drugs used to do. 3,000 days is a long time. I think it was at 2,994 just the other day. That's not without, an asterisk next to a couple of those days, but it is since I started to make that change and I started to make a difference in my own life. And guys, it's always going to be that way. That's the life of a recovering addict. But when we start to take the good from the bad and look back and reflect on all the things that we have seen change over time, the things that we've been through, the things that have died as a result of our change, we're better to understand that these things happen for a reason. So I remind you, stay strong, stay focused, stay sober. Much love, guys. We'll see you soon for the Live Driving 5. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.